So, in the wake of the Asmongold, Hassan Piker, and Twitch controversy, more and more evidence of Twitch's affinity and love for terror organizations and terror sympathizers has been uncovered. A friend of Hassan Piker's stream and supposedly a mod of his stream, Frogan, who's been close to Hassan and endorsed by Twitch, was on stream one time and she said that she doesn't care if US military personnel get PTSD, and she in fact hopes they get PTSD unless they are apologetic about, I guess, Iraq and Afghanistan. If they're not apologetic about two wars that they might not have even participated in, right? Maybe you were in the Navy, maybe you were in the Air Force, maybe you were in infantry if you were in the Army or the Marine Corps, maybe you never got deployed, maybe you were deployed somewhere completely far beyond the Middle East and never ever participated in combat. You must bow down and apologize and beg for forgiveness. George Bush and all the other people who greenlit the war, no need for an apology from them. But you, someone who chose to serve their country, you need to apologize. You need to beg for forgiveness, and you need to talk about how horrible your service was. And if you don't, you deserve PTSD. This is against Twitch's terms of service, by the way, but they will not enforce their terms of service on Hassan Piker, Frogan, or anyone who supports terror organizations on Twitch. It will never be enforced on them. But let's watch the clip.
I have no pity at all for any soldiers. Distress, thank you so much. I will never have any pity for any fucking soldiers. U.S. military? And who? I hope you get PTSD. You know? I do the ones the ones I'm like whatever about the U.S. soldiers are the ones that like acknowledge that like what they did was wrong. They didn't know back then. Whatever. You're a good person in my book. I'm like a Tom. Thank you so much for the 10 gifted. The U.S. military that are like, yeah, like, you know, I did this back then, but now I know it's wrong. Like I'm changed. Like imperialism. This you don't deserve the PTSD. But like any other motherfucker joining them, you're like, oh my god, I want my Camaro, no student loans. You. I hope you get PTSD.
Now, let's talk about something. The idea that if you join the military, you're automatically on the front lines and you have something to apologize for is just a child's understanding of the situation. First and foremost, we were justified to invade Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden committed the attacks of 9/11, which far-left progressives have brainwashed themselves into believing was somehow because of Iraq and Afghanistan, despite the fact that those wars happened after Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden, with zero reason for doing it, attacked the United States, and if you read his reasons for doing it, he talks about how he hates how we entertain homosexuality, how we entertain sex before marriage, how we entertain all sorts of Western, liberal, free society rights that we have in America. It's not just, oh, you guys need to remove American troops from Saudi Arabia that were welcomed by the Saudi royal family. He goes on to talk about how America's freedoms really do piss him off. Despite the fact that Osama bin Laden wrote this before 9/11, leftists cling to Iraq and Afghanistan, despite the fact that those happened after 9/11. Not sure why, but the reality is, we had every right to invade Afghanistan. They were hiding Osama bin Laden, working with him, refused to turn him over, and he committed an act of war against the United States. Not every U.S. military, Marine or soldier, Navy SEAL, whatever combat personnel participated in the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. There were plenty of people who are non-combat MOSs as well, people who worked in the U.S. Navy to secure global trade and make sure people all around the world in first world countries, developing countries, receive the support that they need through global trade, through shipping lanes. Recently, Hassan Piker and Twitch have been incredibly sympathetic and supporting of the Houthis, a terror organization that not only proudly blocks their own people from being able to eat, but also, after the attacks on October 7th, But also, after the attacks on October 7th, brazenly and proudly tried to stop aid from passing through the Red Sea. Aid that people in East Africa, North Africa, the Middle East, and supplies that everyone in the Mediterranean needed. Proudly blocked this. The U.S. Navy is in charge of securing that. There are people who work in the Air Force, the Space Force, people who work in the Army National Guard. The idea that every single U.S. military personnel is involved in getting into combat operations, the idea that every single American troop is responsible for this is a ridiculously immature understanding of how the U.S. military works. Furthermore, I joined the U.S. military. I shouldn't have to apologize for trying to serve my country. There are plenty of other people who joined. You don't ever have to apologize for serving your country. Mind y'all, Frogan is not from the Middle East. She's from the United States. She gets to enjoy the rights and privileges afforded to her by our military. And there's stupid people who say stuff like, our freedoms aren't insured by the military. They're not insured by the military. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I can agree that the wars in the war in Iraq, which was illegal, the war in Afghanistan, which dragged out way too long, those wars have nothing to do with our freedom. But realize and understand, without a working military, a nation as big as the United States would have been invaded hundreds of years. Like, the idea that we would last as a country without a functioning military is delusional. We need servicemen. We need men and women who work in our military and secure our national security and our freedoms. To pretend otherwise is delusional. It is stupid. Twitch never banned her for this, and if you think this is the worst of it, it's not. See, it circulated yesterday, and you know what she did? She doubled down. She doubled down. Let's watch.
Like, oh my god, I want my Camaro, no student loans. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into America. And they posted it in my head. I'm like, base? Based? Like, am I supposed to be like I'm not walking back on it. I still.
She says based. This is before the apology she would eventually issue, like yesterday or whatever. But when it was brought to people's attention, she streamed about it and laughed and said based. But because Twitch is currently facing a storm right now, a media storm in which they're being exposed for entertaining anti-Semitism, entertaining terrorist sympathy on their platform, all of that. Since they're being exposed for all of that and banning IPs from Israel and Palestine, which is just crazy. Insane. Crazy work. Now that Twitch is being exposed for being a platform of lunatics from the top brass down to the creators, Frogan issued a half-baked BS apology. Mind you, when it was first brought to everyone's attention, like yesterday or a day and a half ago, she went live and laughed, based. She didn't have an apology, guys. Don't be fooled. This woman in no way, shape, or form loves this country, our military, or any of those things. It's one thing to say, hey, I'm mad that the U.S. military engaged in an illegal war in Iraq and killed hundreds of thousands of civilians as a result and created a crazy geopolitical. You can say that. That's fine. You can say, hey, I am angry at that, and I want the people that literally orchestrated the entire thing to be held responsible. You didn't say that. You wished PTSD on all servicemen who don't apologize for some shit that the vast majority of them had absolutely nothing to do with. And again, the politicians who send people to die and send people to kill never get held accountable. George Bush is over there painting like he's Leonardo da Vinci. Meanwhile, the people who get shit on are average, everyday fucking American kids who put on uniforms and serve this country either in combat or in non-combat capacities. But she's too stupid to understand the complexities of any of this, so it's a waste of time. But do not be fooled. This individual in no way, shape, or form is apologetic. She does not love this country. She does not love our military. These people are not your friends. They are not progressives. They don't love the West. They don't love this country. They are not your friends. They utilize intersectionality as a piece of armor to cover them as they promote ideologies that eat away at our liberties, our rights, that eat away at our values. These people are not your friends. There's a completely reasonable way to critique America's actions in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I'm there with you. I'm not some uber duper patriot who never wants to critique America, but your statements were not in critique of the wars. Your statements were in condemnation and the wishing of harm upon U.S. servicemen because they don't apologize for some shit that the vast majority of them had nothing to do with. Hello? And even then, it's even more complex than that. Was the invasion illegal? Of course, but then terror groups took over, and it was our responsibility as the people who enabled such an event. It is our responsibility to get in there and solve the problem. You can't invade a country, create a power vacuum, radical terror organizations who murder civilians pop up, and then you say, well, this looks ugly, not our problem anymore. No, you handle the problem you created. So it's not as simple as Frogan wants you to believe. But here's her half-baked, absolutely dishonest BS apology. So here's her apology. The U.S. military has conducted some of the most horrific crimes against humanity in the modern era in countries such as Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Lebanon. In Palestine, my anger is directed at individuals who are currently championing these war crimes as if they liberated my people. That's not what she said. That is not what she said. That is not what she said at all. Furthermore, let's make it abundantly clear. She is not against crimes against humanity. Do not be fooled by people like Hassan Piker and Frogan. When the conversation about assault on October 7th came up, Hassan Piker laughed it off and denies it to this day. These are not human beings who care about crimes against humanity. As the Houthis steal food from poor people, as the Houthis commit terror attacks and kidnap innocent people and refuse to return them, these people cheer it on. Do not believe for 1 second that they are against crimes against humanity. They absolutely are not. Furthermore, she says it's horrific and disgusting what the U.S. military did, blah, blah, blah. The beginning of the clip was worded poorly, and I do apologize for that. She does not. I go on to clarify in the clip that I do not mean all military, but specifically those with no remorse. What I said was out of frustration, as they are currently bombing my family in the name of liberation. Keep in mind, the U.S. military is not bombing Frogan's family in the name of liberation. Israel is bombing southern Lebanon because Hezbollah keeps firing rockets at Israel. Israel left Lebanon years ago. These groups, despite they say, oh, Hezbollah, the Houthis are resistance groups. Maybe we could say Hamas because Israel keeps colonizing the West Bank and acting like that's totally normal. Hezbollah and the Houthis have zero reason to be engaging in this kind of behavior. They attack Israel even when Israel says, okay, we're leaving. We're not really here to take your shit. Bye. They attack, get a response, and then we're supposed to sit here and believe this nonsense. The U.S. military is bombing her family in the name of liberation. No, it's not. Israel is blowing up southern Lebanon, not in the name of liberation, but because Hezbollah is firing rockets at people in Israel. It's crazy how people like Frogan are perfectly cool with just throwing Arab lives into the meat grinder. Just, all right, keep fighting Israel. Just keep going with no reasonable goal in sight. Hezbollah does not want Israel to stop doing settlements in the West Bank. They want Israel to just die. Understand and realize these groups don't have realistic, rational goals that can actually be met on a geopolitical stage, sitting at a table with negotiations. Absolutely not. These groups want total annihilation. They are willing to continue to throw lives into the meat grinder to get an outcome that will never come about. So when she types this, understand she is lying in the utmost bad faith possible way. The U.S. military is not bombing her family. And the fact that she would lie to justify what she said, the U.S. military is bombing my family in the name of liberation, it is not doing that. But she purposefully lies to cover up what she said. No, Israel's bombing southern Lebanon. Say, hey, Israel's bombing my family in southern Lebanon. If you don't want to tell the whole story as to why, that's fine. But don't bring America into this. Don't do that. And I don't care, oh, America sends Israel weapons. Yeah, because Iran, a fucking regional power, supports neighboring regional powers like the Houthis, Hezbollah, to attack Israel. What are we supposed to do? Just sit there and just allow a radical Islamic nation that literally strips their citizens of their rights to just have complete unfettered control over the region and goad Israel into possibly nuclear fucking war? Are you retarded? So her complete bad faith like presentation of this entire situation goes to show these people are not your friends. They don't want a reasonable, rational approach to the conflict, and they will lie. They will lie about situations to compel you to feel bad for them. She said, what I said was out of frustration as they are currently bombing my family in the name of liberation. I realized that wishing people harm isn't the best way to talk about these issues, and I could have talked about these topics in a more sensitive way. So she admits that she wished harm on veterans. Realize and understand that this is happening because Twitch got cocky. Twitch decided to ban Asmongold for saying some borderline racist shit about Palestinian people. Thought that they would be able to get away with it, despite the fact that the center-left have been watching Hassan Piker engage in pro-terrorist propaganda for the last year. We're watching. We see everything. We've seen Frogan, we've seen Hassan, we've seen Denims. We can see all of it. We're on the planet with you. It's like dealing with MAGA. We didn't do that. We saw you. We can literally see you. Like, we're on Earth with you. Hello. This individual is not apologetic. This individual is in no way, shape, or form apologetic for what she said and what she did. She probably got a call from Twitch because Twitch around, like, this tweet was launched at, what, like 6:50 p.m.? Around that same time at night, Twitch announced, hey, it's been brought to our attention that some IPs in a certain region have been blocked, and we did this because we didn't want people to upload graphic imagery from the war, despite the fact that they did not ban Russia or Ukraine from Twitch, or Yemen, or Sudan. Keep in mind, Twitch bans no other region of the world from this besides Israel and Palestine, and I highly doubt it's because of Palestine, because they blocked Israel like around October 7th, October 8th, before Israel had even properly responded yet. So, like, keep this in mind when Twitch tries to, like, make it seem like they're not up to anything crazy. They did this before Israel even responded. This platform is insane. They're not helping Palestinians by promoting pro-terrorist organizations. You're actually making it worse. You're actually making it worse. Do not believe Frogan when she tries to make it seem like she just wants accountability as it pertains to the Middle East. She does not. These individuals in their perfect world would allow terror organizations to run the entire Middle East. I promise you. I promised you. I promise you that. I don't know what's going on at Twitch. Frogan has not been banned for even a week. I've seen people get banned for less. Asmongold got banned for 2 weeks. The fact that Twitch has not banned this individual just goes to show exactly what type of time Twitch is on. It goes to show exactly who Twitch is as a platform, what they're about, and I highly encourage more and more people to call Twitch out. The reality is what Asmongold said was wrong. Like, here's the problem. This is not some kind of pro-Israel thing. We can enforce the rules on both sides. The reality is that what Asmongold said was wrong. It was bad. It was dehumanizing toward Palestinians, and he apologized for it. These individuals, Hassan Piker, Frogan, they promote terrorist organizations who shove gay people off of cliffs, steal food from poor people in Yemen, kidnap people on cargo ships, and hold them hostage for a year. This kind of behavior is absolutely insane that Twitch is defending this shit. Insane. You can't sit there and say, we're upset about the war crimes committed in Gaza, but we're really cool with the organizations who shove gay people off buildings, restrict women's rights, persecute Jews, etc., etc. That's fine. We actually like those organizations. Then, like, what are we what is happening here? Oh my God. This only happened because Twitch got cocky. Twitch thought we're gonna teach Asmongold a lesson about racism. Whole time they were entertaining people like Hassan Piker, who used an anti-Semitic slur on stream, denies any form of sexual violence on October 7th, Frogan, who hates the U.S. military, Hassan Piker, who again endorses and supports terror organizations, Denims, who supports Hamas. Like, Twitch thought they could have it both ways. We're gonna teach Asmongold a lesson, but we're also gonna simultaneously like keep doing our terrorist sympathizing. No, you're not. No, you're not. They miscalculated. You shouldn't have banned Asmongold. You should have just let him get away with it, because like we've seen what you've been up to for the last year. What you thought we weren't watching. If you were smart, you would have let Asmongold get away with it, so you could keep getting away with anti-Semitism and the support of terror. But you couldn't do that. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Miscalculated. This literally wouldn't be happening if Twitch just like was smart about it. Like, we're gonna, for the sake of continuing our little crusade against Israel and Jewish people, we're gonna let this go. They couldn't even do that. Not very smart. At the end of the day, like, we need to get to a point where we can call out Israel's crimes in Gaza and simultaneously acknowledge and admit that terror organizations with unbelievably irrational, like, peace aims and goals and fucking, you know, unbelievably insane human rights violations probably aren't our friends either. Like, the irrational, like, mindset of, oh, we're gonna accomplish peace by supporting and beefing up and hyping up terror organizations who fucking brutalize and victimize minority communities. That's insane to me. These are the same people who lecture the West about minorities and et cetera, but simultaneously support terror organizations who have horrible human rights track records. Whatever. It is what it is. These people are not your friends. These people are not your allies. I would much rather talk to people like Cenk Uygur, who are far more rational and logical as it pertains to trying to advocate for Palestinians not being forced to live on a strip after the West Bank has been thoroughly and completely colonized. Like, people like Cenk Uygur who are like, hey, Hamas isn't a good thing, but like, I these are some demands I need met, that I want met for the Palestinian people. We can come together and try to come to a reasonable, rational, logical conclusion. But Twitch is beyond any form of reasonable, rational, logical conclusions.